Welcome, Titano community, to episode 11, where we're going to be talking about the future of Titano, the breakdown of everything, what's on the agenda, what do we got moving forward, the future use cases, my camera turning off at literally a record breaking 1 minute and 40 seconds. We're going to talk about all that. But one thing I want to start this whole Titan talk off with is I want everybody to drop in the chat. Okay. We got 66 people watching. First of all, make sure we drop this link in both Telegram, Discord. Let everybody know in the Twitter spaces we are live, because this is going to be a really good episode that's going to answer a ton of questions as far as coin market cap, listing, marketing, all kinds of questions. And I really wanted to make this as information dense as possible. That's why we got on today David and John from Titano, where we're going to be answering a ton of questions, getting right into it. So drop in the chat. This is just one thing I really ask for a lot of people. When we got 71 people, all right, so a lot of people should be dropping this. Drop me in the chat, what are you truly grateful for, right? And this isn't something cheesy to ask, but this is one thing I want to ask everybody to do, because at some point in time, we get so lost in the crypto spaces. We get so lost in this crazy world of crypto, right? We never take a moment to just really realize what we are grateful for and why are investing in crypto to begin with, right? So make sure you drop in the chat. Seriously, I want to see what you guys are grateful for. Why are you guys alive today, and what are you happy about, right? It doesn't have to be crypto. It can be literally anything. I just want to see in the chat. So before we get started, I'm going to bring on David and John, but real quick, we're going to get into Titan stats, where we pull up Titan chest. We haven't done that last week, because last week we simply was just talking to the Austin Patton, not myself. That'd be crazy. But we're talking about Austin Patton. We did a little getting to know who he is as a TikToker, as a content creator, as an investor. We really got to know who that person was, and I had such a good conversation. So if you missed that, go back to last week's episode. It was a really, really good one. So I'm going to share my screen right now. I see some really good comments in there. So thank you all so much. Yeah, we got family and friends. Yeah, healthy. I mean, guys, seriously, I'm telling you all right now, health is everything. You can be broke and still be the most wealthiest person in the world. If you have your health, you got your friends and family. I'm telling you right now. Flash D. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Titano, the experience I've gained is tremendous. Yeah, man, meeting people. Pickles Cage, grateful for Austin's cuteness. All right. Vane, what's up, Vane? It's the 3. Grateful for that Titano merch. Yes. Everybody hit up Alley Jam, bro. I'm grateful for John. I'm going to tell you all what I'm grateful. I'm grateful for Johnny telling y'all to hit that like button. Thank y'all so much. But I really am. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here and do this podcast with you all. So without further ado, let's get into Titano stats right now. I don't want to waste any more time. All right, so if you guys see here, we are on titanchest.com. Shout out once again to, you see in the chat, he is called Vane, but we know him as Wayne in the Discord. So we're going to look at Titan Chest. Now, what I love to do with Titan Chest is this is a part of the Titan stats, right? Where before we were using BSC skin, we were using the treasury bots from Discord. Now we have one singular location where we can look at all these stats. So if you go to dashboard and go over to KPI tracker, KPI stands for key performance indicators. This KPIs are used for any world of business, whether it's real estate, business in general. This is like ways to indicate, is your business doing well? Is just kind of see a visual representation of how the progress is going with statistics and, information, rather than just taking people's words for it. So we go down here to, this was this week's, because we are literally starting this week off. So it says 731 here. So we started off with 725 if we compare it to last week. So last week we had, let's see here, total circulating supply was 11.2 billion tokens, right? Yep, there we go, 11.2. And we increased by 14%. So again, we're still inflation. We're still in an inflationary phase. That's, everybody knows that, right? We're not sitting here trying to hide it. We have 12.8 billion tokens that we started the week off here. We go over here, look at that, 12.8 billion. We ended the week off with 14.3 billion with a 12% increase, and we did take 649 million tokens out of circulating supply with a burn. So again, you guys can look at these. You can see objectively we are still inflationary, but you do see that the use cases are taking those tokens out of circulating supply and making sure we are on the right path of getting deflationary with more use cases and more utilities that we have along the way. We ended up the week with actually losing some holders. We have 77,900 holders that we ended the week off with. Last week we had 78. So yeah, we're still fluctuating around 77 to 80,000 holders. And let's go to, if you go to home here, you can see the price right now. Even if you, I love this little chart thing. So if you click this little chart, you can see how the prices fluctuated. The average Titano holders, 117,000 Titano tokens. That used to be so much lower. So that's pretty, yeah, look at that. And there's even a little increasing chart there. Let's see. We got the market cap at 37 million. Treasury is $7.3 million with an RFE of $2.4 million. So now let's get right into the meat and potatoes of this episode, where we are going to talk with David and John about the future breakdown of Titano. Boom, boom. Welcome, gentlemen. What are y'all doing today? How y'all doing? What are you doing? You obviously, we're on a podcast here.
Hey, Austin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful.
Fantastic. Great to be here. Great to see you. Great to talk to the Titans. Great to always do something with John. Hey, man. Hey, John.
Hey, guys. How are you doing? It's nice to see you both. Always good to see you, Austin.
Absolutely, man. I'm telling you right now, I have a lot of faith in both you and David. Both y'all are under the weather and still coming on here, getting ready to drop some facts, right?
Oh, man. Yeah, I'll tell you, this bug is just, I keep thinking that, I'm on the downside of it, right? But it is just, woo, I don't know. But yeah, with that being said, happy to be here, and we wouldn't miss it for the world. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's really funny that everybody's noticing how great David sounds with his microphone. That's like the first thing I said to David, is it not? When he came into the chat room, I was like, David, did you get a new mic? You sound great, man.
This is actually my second mic, but I left the mic at my other place, and so I bought a new one, and now I'm all mic'd up. There you go.
That's great. So let's get right into it, John and David. So what's the first thing that you guys want to talk about? Because one thing that I really wanted to make sure this podcast was good for is addressing a lot of different concerns and questions about coin market cap. What's the marketing looking like? What's the future utility that we're literally right around the corner of pulling out for Titano? So whichever one you guys want to tackle first, or if you guys have any notes of yourself, let's just get right into it.
Got it. Okay, John, if I can, because I know John has a lot of specific notes and things, but I want to, and I hope my brain, I have brain fog, team. So if I lose my train of thought, it'll hopefully catch up with me at some point. But if I start rambling, that's what it is. At any rate, what's critical about where we are right now with Titano is to always be mindful, right, that projects that have long-term sustainability in the crypto space go through different stages. And Titano's path has been to take measured steps as we go through these stages. So what that means at times is that things take a little bit longer, but when they come out, they're a lot better planned, they're a lot surer. Also, we've had this market that has created so much uncertainty, and I've answered this question quite a bit because people are saying, well, what happened with this and what happened with that? Well, everything that's being proposed has to take into account the actual market conditions. And so just implementing use cases or different elements randomly isn't really the smartest thing to do. Particularly being in a bear market, you've got to manage your time, you've got to manage your resources, you've got to manage your money. People talk about buybacks, people talk about burns. When those things happen, the money's gone permanently. So the team has to be strategic about the things that it does and be more concerned about the conditions than it is about a particular timeline. In addition to that, as different timelines that are out of our control, like coin market cap being an example, we have to adjust around when those things are happening or when they're not happening. So we have to keep that in, keep that in mind as we move down this road. what I always sort of lean on for myself is that when things are implemented, when things are introduced, they're extraordinarily effective, right? So I know a lot of people come to me, well, we should be doing this and doing this. And a lot of those things are things for the moment. Titano's got to be focused on long-term sustainability, those things that create long-term sustainability for this project. So I just kind of want to put that kind of a context or overview on a discussion like this. It's not that all of these ideas and needs and wants aren't being considered, but there are myriad of issues that are always going on. And so I just wanted to say that, John, just to kind of add some context here. And again, I apologize, guys. My brain is a little bit not as clear as it normally is, but there you go. Anyway, with that being said, there are some specifics. And John, like I said, I know you've got a lot of notes, and I can add in when and if needed.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, second everything you said, David. We've got such a great project here, and the bigger the project, it's always going to be the case that you have to move a little slower, a little more tentatively, and for good reason. Sure and steady is the right way, and especially as it happens, it's worked out to our benefit. You might not see it from the outside or when you look in briefly, but when you really take a good look, we've been kind of quiet on the development front over the last month or two, but we've also seen an incredible dip in the market. We've seen projects disappearing, we've seen panic and FUD everywhere. We've seen just macroeconomic issues which affect the crypto market significantly. And what we've done is the steady hand here is really paying off, because now we're in a position where we're going to talk about it in a minute, but we have a lot of liquidity, we're strong, and the project's going to grow in the right way with this market in conditions in place. Okay, so a few things to talk about. There's plenty to talk about, but let's get started. So this week, roulette has been added via BetSwirl, I believe. So that's already a big thing, and an additional utility for our people to jump in on. And in the coming week, we've got some exciting news, which you should know about already, I think. But we have a massive buyback and burning of approximately $35,000 of Titano tokens, and that's thanks to the Liquid Capital partnership that we have. So we assisted with that, the raise there. I know a lot of Titans jumped in, and I think we raised we're getting a kickback for Titano of roughly $70,000, David, and that's 35,000, which will go straight into buybacks, and another 35,000 will go into the treasury to support the treasury, additional development and marketing. So it's going to be fantastic for the project,
Fantastic.
The new gaming contract is ready, and the UI is ready as well. We are just meeting with some new companies to connect the back end and front end of the game together. That means the finer details, but we're pretty sure this is going to be launched after the finalization of the Switch rebrand, and we'll come to that in a second. So in terms of Titano, the devs are really positioning Titano so that it's going to be a token for games of chance, right? I think we can see this already. We have the BetSwirl games, we have our own games coming up, we have the lottery, we have play, and this doesn't change the original benefits of the Titano token, not in any way. All those things that we've talked about before, everything that Titano was, still is. It just adds more value by making the positioning of Titano very clear. It creates a very clear signal that we're moving beyond the token distribution phase, which is what happens at the start. You have this high APY rebasing token. That was a phenomenon, right? We created it, but now we're giving it a very specific utility too. And again, we're leading the way there. We're saying this is going to be a gaming token. We're going to bring in all sorts of games. And this will be something that external third-party people can come in, they can see it, and they can just jump in and play. So it's going to benefit us, both in terms of being deflationary, but in terms of supporting the token and giving it a real identity. So we now have token
John,
holders.
Oh,
yeah. sorry, we have
Sorry. Please continue.
It's just one sentence. We have token holders, and we're going to finish and sustain these holders with all this investment, with this positioning. So yeah, David, you were going to say.
Thank you, man. I wanted to say I've had quite a few conversations with in AMAs and directly through the DMs with Titans about why the focus on the games of chance. And my answer is that if you look at what Titano needs to be focusing on during this phase of its growth, right? And that's building out those use cases in the 4 areas that we talked about, right? Use cases that cause deflation, use cases that generate revenue, use cases that bring in new holders, and use cases that get Titans to hold on to their tokens longer, right? The ideal is to get use cases that fit all 4 of those categories. Right. So when you look at games of chance, it fits perfectly with all 4 of those categories, right? People love gaming. They love it. And so as we've seen, as we've introduced these gaming use cases, they've been fantastic for Titano in terms of generating revenue, in terms of, getting the holders to directly involve themselves in the use cases and creating deflation. So as John was saying, when he talks about, Titano is pivoting in that direction, it's because of the effect that it has, the positive effect that it has on the Titano ecosystem, the Titano economy. So yeah, so this is why the guys have come out. And, I said this also, the lottery that got released, the idea behind it. Now, John, I know how much we talked about this, the group. The idea behind the lottery was not just to introduce another gaming use case, but the lottery is really designed in such a way, just like the big lottery that just happened in the United States, where it took weeks and weeks for people to win. This lottery is designed that same way. And what that means is that the prize would go up and up and up and up. And before we had this last jump, the goal was that the lottery would grow so large that it would just get people to buy into the Titano ecosystem because they want to win that lottery. So as we see the market go up again, that'll then become the case, and it'll be a compounding effect. So that's the power of a game of chance type of a use case and why it's so important to Titano. I just wanted to add that, John, to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Can I add something, guys?
Of course, please.
Gotcha. So, because I've seen a couple people in the chats, and I just want to make it maybe clarification for people is, so Titano is not becoming a gaming company or a gaming project specifically, right? Because a couple people are like, is Titano rebranding to just games in general, or
no.
Gotcha.
No. So as we said, Titano is one of the tokens, right? This is a token, and we're going to have games of chance on there that people can engage with and use that token. So we're giving that token some utility. But the whole business is what we're going to get to next. Everyone that has bought into Titano, that has invested in Titano, is a part of everything that we're doing, and that includes the Swych ecosystem, the Swych DEX, and that's what we're going to get to next, if we can.
Yes,
absolutely.
So this is really exciting. The guys are super excited about this. This is where all their focus has been. Yes, we know we've had some issues with CMC. CoinMarketCap has been difficult to pin down. Those guys are tricky, but we're getting there. We're currently untracked. That is true, but we're working on all the ways and all the variables that we can to make that happen, to get us listed as soon as possible. And part of that involves a complete rebrand. And they've been working with 6 additional devs, front and back end, for this. So we've really gone all out. They've been working for the last over about a month, I think, several weeks now. There's going to be a whole new front and back end to this. New website, new domain. The dApp's going to be completely redesigned. And once this is done, we're going to add some additional pairs to Swych. This will create more volume, which will again assist in that revenue and the expedited tracked listing that we're looking for. We're hoping that by the end of this coming week, so we're on Sunday now, so by the end of this week, we're going to add the new BNB BUSD pair, and most probably we're going to introduce another stable pool pair with, for example, USDT. And that's really going to stimulate that volume within the DEX, furnish our users with more ways to trade with us. And all of this comes back to supporting that Titano token, of course.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Right.
you're going to be pairing Titano with BUSD now instead of just BNB.
Well, yeah, because if you have the BNB BUSD pair, then it routes automatically. So we're adding that liquidity, which came originally from the V1 liquidity, because originally, if you remember, when we moved over to V2, we used the RFB from V2 to supply the liquidity. Whereas, so we kept that liquidity over there as RFB in the future for here, but we're now going to use this for liquidity on Swych Deck. So if you've wondered where that money was, it's all been sat there. You can track it completely, and you're going to see that they've moved it over here.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that, because I think that's one thing that a lot of people has been wanting to see is a BUSD, some type of stable coin paired to Titano. So that way we're not just reliant on the price of BNB. And I had a really good question here from the chat, and I've seen a couple people. So shout out to everybody. I don't want to make, I don't want you guys to feel like I'm overlooking some of the questions, but this is a common one. And just from what you said, John, where now you're switching to, well, not switching, but you're adding these additional pairs. Somebody said, let me pull it up here. Ample17, and then also Patel said this as well in the chat. They said, so CoinMarketCap will not list Swych in their current form. Did they get that right? Has it been changed? So just to capitalize on this question, John, because other people were asking, with these new little additions that you're adding to the Swych, is that going to further maybe help the CoinMarketCap listing, or is this like some type of way that you're going to supplement it to make it, like more effective on the CoinMarketCap listing? Could we kind of talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. CoinMarketCap has a series of prerequisites that you have to fulfill to be listed. And obviously those guys are going to go through, when they see the application, they're going to go through the application and determine whether you are appropriate to be listed at that point. So at the time when they first looked at it, obviously they didn't get listed straight away. It took a bit of time. Maybe it got a second look, and eventually it was an untracked listing. So we didn't fulfill everything that they needed on there. So we're now just tidying everything up. We're just redoing the design. We're putting the site up properly. We've got a new DApp.
Right.
Everything, we're creating volume by having the extra pairs on there. So it's not just it won't just look like a Titano DEX. It will look like a DEX in its own right. So we're doing everything, that we can think of to give this as much of a boost as possible. And then we have another reason to go back to them and say, please take another look. And we're pretty confident that once we see that there's all this liquidity in Swych, which there will be, and we have several stablecoin pairs, which is what they really want to see. It's not just about a native token. You've got BNB BUSD pair in there, USDT pair in there. They're going to see that there's real value in there, and there shouldn't be a problem, I don't think, with them reassessing.
I'm sorry, John. I wanted to add to what you're saying, because I've gotten this question quite a bit, and I know it's come up. I saw it also in the staff chat, Austin, as well, where people were asking, is there something that Titano has not done to fulfill what CoinMarketCap needs, which is causing the token to not be tracked? And the answer to that is no. There's not any specific thing that has been that's on any list or that's been told to anyone at Titano that you guys, until you do this, you're not going to be tracked. However, as John is saying, the agenda is to do everything that we can that we believe would move toward them tracking the Swych, the DEX. My apologies again.
Essentially, you guys are trying to get ahead of it before it's even a problem.
Yeah. So I mean, it should have happened, weeks ago. We don't know why it hasn't happened, but in the meantime, it's kind of like, okay, well, let's do this, let's do that, let's keep doing things that we know will be advantageous. Right. So that's what John's speaking of. All these things are advantages, but it's not like CoinMarketCap has said, well, until you guys do this, you're not going to be tracked. Do you understand, Austin?
Gotcha.
There is no information communicated. Yeah. But in the meantime, you can look, and like John is saying, you add more liquidity pairs, right? That's more attractive, right? You create our separate domain for the Switch deck and the rebranding that he's talking about, all these services, those are positives.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. Someone had asked me a question earlier saying, well, what's going to happen if CoinMarketCap doesn't list Titano? And my response was, doesn't list Switch. And my response was, well, there are steps. We're not just sitting and doing nothing. There are steps that are being taken to move closer to what we believe, would cause it to again be tracked.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's
so
like,
hopefully that helps.
I was even looking at the CoinMarketCap thing because again, there was like I seen some questions today, and I genuinely was curious too. So I went on there, and it was just like, so a lot of people will take the response that CoinMarketCap has there, and it's just like, oh my god, specifically for Titano, it's just a generic response that CoinMarketCap has, and that's what I was seeing. So yeah, don't freak out like it's some crazy thing. They're just trying to add more stuff onto the Switch, so that way it will be listed with CoinMarketCap in the future.
Yeah, we want to take away any issue that they may have. But remember, I mean, the same thing happened when we had the V2 token, right? We were all sitting going, what are these guys doing? And they move at their own speed. And sometimes there isn't really any specific rhyme or reason, and they don't feel as if they have to communicate. So yeah, so the key is, as always with Titano, keep moving, keep building.
Gotcha. Okay, so with the Switch now, we got the whole CoinMarketCap stuff. And guys, if you are still watching, and if you have any more clarification or questions within the CoinMarketCap Switch issue, definitely leave it in the comments so that way we can address that. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, if you guys are okay with it, is that next future utility that we've been kind of flirting with the community of what is about to come. So could we kind of just touch on that, talk about as much as we possibly could, and what the future benefits look like with this new utility?
John, could I for a second?
Yeah, of course. Please go ahead.
Because I know you've got notes. Okay, so this. Hang on a second. Yes. I'm talking online to a bunch of people right now. A snake is in the house? Okay, I will come deal with it.
We got a surprise guest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. A snake is in the house right now? Guys, could you excuse me 1 minute? John, take it. I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
David's got to go save the world real quick.
I love it that you couldn't make it up. When you used to hear a story, the most common excuse from not doing your homework was that my dog ate my homework. And here is David. Why couldn't you finish your AMA? Well, my snake or the snake entered the house and scared us.
My daughter found a snake in the house.
Exactly. It's terrifying. I don't know what's going on over there, but hopefully he'll sort that out. I actually have a bunch of notes about what it is, what's coming, but I do want to hear what David has to say first. And I don't know actually how useful it is to know about what I can tell you, because this is the specifics to the game itself. It's kind of like a lottery, as it were, but it's slightly different. And until you see it, I don't know, how much this helps you. So just know that it's coming. They're trying to get it out this week. The contract is ready, and like I said, the UI is ready as well. And they have companies to connect the back end and front end of the game.
That's pretty cool then.
Yeah, it's a good one, right? But they did want to do the Switch rebrand first, so that's supposed to be coming first, guys, before the new utility. They want to get that out first, so that's the order of things now.
So then while we wait on David, I guess one thing that we can maybe, because I've seen a ton of questions. All right, David, real quick. So I've seen a ton of questions about timeline stuff. And again, I know we're in the crypto space. We're in the tech world. Timelines are one in a dozen, right? But this week moving forward, right? What could the Titans expect to see with Titano? Because we're dropping a lot of different stuff as far as like the Twitch rebranding, the new utility coming out, the burns that you just talked about from the Liquid Capital acquisition, but the Liquid Capital launch with the pre-sale. So could we kind of talk about just some general expectations of what what they could expect this week, and then we can get back to what David was saying.
Yeah, so big exciting news for today, obviously, is Liquid Capital is launching, and we participated in their partnership program with that. We're partners with them in the future, and just to recap, we've got $70,000 or thereabouts coming back to Titano, and that will happen in this week. We're going to start putting half of that into buybacks and burns, which was the agreement. So that's going to be fantastic. And also this week we should have the new BNB BUSD and the USDT pairs launched on Swych. So that immediately, and like David said earlier, regardless of what happens with CMC, whether it happens next week or the week after, or in a couple of weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, regardless of that, we are making Swych more valuable just by doing that. We're making the ecosystem real and effective just by doing that. So that will all happen, I believe, this week. So yes, buybacks and liquidity and new pairs.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. So
Excellent.
yeah, you guys heard it there, right? So you could probably expect to see some of those different liquidity pairs and the buybacks and burns. So we should see by next Titan Talk, we should see a definite increase in the Titan chest with as far as like burns and stuff goes. So you're going to see a sharp incline. So David, if you wanted to go back to what you were saying before, you got a snake in the house.
What I would recommend is get a girl who can deal with the snake. I went out there. She's like, "Hey, just go back to your podcast. I got the snake." I was like, "Oh, you sure?" I got it.
We did have some concerns on if a picture of the snake will be posted in the Discord.
Apparently, it's a little small snake. I don't know how he got in the house, but hey, there it is. I completely lost my train of thought. Which I'm sure you guys could probably understand.
So I asked about the
yes.
the utility and like some sneak peeks of anything we could talk about with it.
Yeah, and I don't know what John covered, but one of the main sort of approaches is making sure that everything gets timed properly, and it is critical, Austin. If you the best advice given to projects during these types of markets, it is to be cautious and to be strategic about how and when you do things. And, I've said this continually about roadmaps, which are great things to have. But, at the end of the day, they really should only be guidelines because, again, you've got to look at the current market conditions and you've got to always be prepared to modify your strategy, to modify what you're going to do when, because that is what's going to be the difference maker. I was in a conversation earlier. We were talking about buybacks and burns, and you have to think about the reason why you're doing that. You're doing that to stimulate upward price pressure, right? If that doesn't happen, if all you're doing is get a little bump and then it's down, you've just wasted a bunch of money. So it's the timing and the strategy around all of that is critical. And so when we talk about these new use cases, again, in terms of implementation of use cases, they need to be use cases, and I know the guys are focusing on this, doing things that work no matter what the market conditions are, right? That have a level of effectiveness. And what's happened is we've been able to take a look at that, look at things sort of from backing away from the specifics and just sort of looking at what's happened over time and what has been effective over time. So I just wanted to put, again, context on that. I know John talked about some of the specifics, which is great. A lot of stuff coming. And again, if things seem to be taking a little bit more time, or if the order of things seems to change a little bit, it's because of market conditions, nothing else.
Yeah, and on that, one of the things that Dev said the other day as well is getting their Swych rebrand, getting Swych up and running properly, getting these liquidity pairs in, getting this new utility in. Once that's done, it all starts with the Swych DEX. Once we have that DEX done and built, everything else will flow very quickly. We have once you've got that, then you've got the launch pad and the farming. That will come straight after, because once you have the DEX operating with liquidity on it, with stablecoin pairs on it, then everything else comes very simply. And then after that, so looking way forwards, then you have all those things that we've already prepared. They're all ready, things like the NFT and the marketplace, and then you can
Right.
invite other projects to participate as well. Everything we're doing is just solid foundational work, so that the things at the end, once you have the decks, then you can add the partnerships, you can add you can welcome and invite and pull people into it. It's much easier. What a lot of projects do is they try and rush things, and you're pulling in partners, but then there's nothing for the partners to do. Then it becomes difficult later on. Whereas here, let's just set things up right. Let's get Swych right. Let's get it looking right. Let's get it ready to list properly and tracked, and hopefully that will all happen soon. And let's get those stablecoin pairs in, and then let's see, launchpad, farming, NFT, and marketplace. That's all going to be added very quickly afterwards. That.
Yeah. And
Right.
one thing that I'm noticing with Titano, right? And like, guys, just a disclaimer again, like David always says, the DeFi space in general is literally just a huge experiment where we're still seeing where this is going to be in years to come, right? Like DeFi is still extremely risky, where it's only risk capital. I try to find a way to say this in every single podcast and video that I do. And when it comes to this, one thing that I really like is, with DeFi is you really are investing in what can the team do with these projects. Just like how you're kind of like an angel investor, you watch Shark Tank episodes, right? You're really taking an investment, and you're really just taking a bet on, can the team follow through with their roadmap. And one thing that I have really liked objectively, this isn't me trying to sound like a moon boy or anything like that, with Titano, is the fact that they don't care what people are saying. They don't care about, people freaking out or people that are, trying to cause crazy conspiracy theories. They're just working, right? They're just working, trying to find ways to add use cases and utility, and just a value to Titano in general. And if you guys have noticed this little trend where in July, they have really been buckling down and just kind of not really worrying about the price. The price is just noise to them, all that type of stuff. They're really just trying to focus on things that they can do to add value. And it's what it's sounding like is, at the end of July, I mean, literally today's the last day of July. And then at the beginning of August and the rest of August, we're going to hope to see, a lot of the benefits and the ramifications of all the stuff they've been building with the use cases. So that's one thing I just wanted to really make it a point to say to everybody. We have 154 people listening right now, is the fact that, you don't want to be with a team, or you don't want to gamble on a team or take a bet on a team that is completely reactionary, right? They hear a conspiracy theory and then the next day they do some knee-jerk reaction, or they hear this and they think they need to do this. No, they just stay on path with what they believe is the best way for the project, and then they follow through with it. So I just wanted to make sure I said that before we get into the next little talking point here.
Thank you, Austin. That's very well said. And this is a really tough industry, right? There are project issues, right? There are issues around DeFi, there are issues around crypto, there's issues around, investing in these types of high risk assets, right? And there's macro issues, there's all these things that are going on all the time. And, it's challenging because, we're all emotional beings and we see things and we respond and, want to respond. But, the responses have to be measured. And, Austin, you and I and John and I and all of us have talked about, as you just talked about earlier, a lot of noise going around, right? A lot of noise in the industry and a lot of talking going around. And part of it is, as John always said, our strategy has been to not engage with a lot of that stuff. And at times, I've come out publicly said that I'm going to begin to push back on it, because I've noticed that it does have a negative effect at times. And I can look at my DMs and the types of questions I'm getting, about information that's being said about, the space and about Titano in particular. And I reserve the right to respond. I wish my head was in a little bit better space right now. I'd really respond. But what's important to know is that this space that we're in, right, this cryptocurrency space, is its own unique asset class, right? We're not in the stock business. We're not in the securities business or the real estate business, and we shouldn't be expected to act that way. But anyone that's commenting on anything that's going on in DeFi should understand cryptocurrencies, right? Anyone that's commenting on Titano should understand cryptocurrencies. A rebasing token is nothing new in terms of how cryptocurrencies operate, right? Cryptocurrencies have different stages that they go through. And the first stage is this distribution stage, right? Remember, these are not companies. Cryptocurrency projects are not companies, although they may be incorporated somewhere, but they're economies. And at the center of these economies is a token, is a currency, right? So if you think about how a cryptocurrency operates, you have to compare it to a currency. So I hear a lot of comments about, well, wait a minute, these guys have a liquidity pool and their real valuation isn't X. It's based on whatever's in the liquidity pool. Well, cryptocurrencies and currencies in general don't operate that way, right? So, there's two aspects of it, right? The first is, how do currencies operate? Well, let's take a look at the biggest currency in the world, right? The US dollar. The US dollar has a liquidity pool. It and of itself does not cover the entire value of the US dollar. There's a $30 trillion hole in the US currency, and it doesn't collapse. So when I hear conversations around, well, wait a minute, they've only got X in the liquidity pool, so that's their real valuation. It doesn't work that way. Cryptocurrencies and currencies in general don't always have to be covered. There are other elements to consider. What are the other elements? Why doesn't the US dollar collapse, even though it's got a $30 trillion hole in its liquidity pool? Because there are two other issues. The first issue is confidence. People have confidence in the US dollar, and that holds up its value. Similarly, people have confidence in Bitcoin. What is holding Bitcoin up? People have confidence in it. Same thing with Ethereum. There's no intrinsic value that's saying, well, it's based on this. It's based on people's belief that there's something there. And that belief is a real thing. It's not some, magic thing. It's a real thing. The second thing is utility, right? What keeps up the US dollar is it's the most useful, it's the most used currency in the world. And so here we are, Titano, creating utility. Right. So the first stage of a cryptocurrency project, I don't care if it's Ethereum, I don't care if it's Bitcoin, right? How does Bitcoin distribute its token? Distributes them to the miners then sell it, and Bitcoin comes into circulation. That's inflation. Titano has a different way. It's a rebasing token, and the rebasing, which is inflation, gets the token into the holder's hands. And once it's in the holder's hands, there's utility that gets created. That is the way all of these projects go. This is nothing new. I said this to you earlier, Austin. If you could go back in time when paper money was created, imagine what that must have been like, right? The only way you knew money was something that had a specific value. Maybe it was a bartering situation. You were trading, a sheep for corn. And then all of a sudden, or maybe you were trading gold for corn, but there was a value, and all of a sudden someone came with a piece of paper. Why would you take piece of paper for your goat? I'd be willing to bet that if you went back then, there was a way for you to get. In terms of how money was distributed, it was distributed for less than its actual value. That caused tremendous inflation. They needed to get dollars in people's hands. That's what cryptocurrency does. That's not a Titano thing. That's how currencies work. You have to get them into people's hands. And once they're in people's hands, you have to find a use for that particular currency. So when people have this conversation, I always say they don't understand this industry, right? And when they say Titano, well, how Titano? And so now let's talk about the rate of inflation, right? Because I've had this conversation for 9 months with people, with mathematicians and and analysts and all these people. Well, David, how can you maintain that? And I go, great. Tell me what the inflation number is that ends up being dangerous. Is it 100,000? Is it 50,000? Is it 25,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 2,000? Is it 1,000? Is it 50%? And when you give me that number, tell me how you derive that number, right? What it comes down to, if you ask me, based on my research, is what is the plan of the project? What's the plan? What are these guys doing? What are they setting out to do? And are they effective at doing that? So that's why I say, if you pay attention to the fundamentals, then it helps with your clarity about all of this. So I just, as I see this stuff happening, Austin, it's important, I think, for us to have a context around where we are. We're in the currency business. We're not a company, right? So when people compare you to, well, Apple Computer, we're not Apple Computer, we're not a company, right? We're building an economy. And in that economy, there's an ecosystem. The ecosystem for me is the use cases and, all the things that we go down the road. But it's built around the token. When John was talking earlier about introducing other use cases and introducing other tokens like a Swych token, it's building out this entire economy. So that's what Titano's in the midst of doing. That's what any good project is. Some projects, some rebase projects will decide we're going to get off of this rebasing token. Some will decide we're never going to leave this rebasing token. And some will decide we're going to lower the APY in the rebasing token. It all depends on the strategy of the project. And you as an investor or us as investors have to look at that project and go, do we like the plan this project is implementing? But that's how all of this works. So I think you have to understand all of that, as you move around this space, because a lot of people will be saying things but not really understand the space that we're in. Titano and rebasing tokens aren't anything different than how crypto works, no matter where you are, if you're in DeFi or out, right? When you go and buy into a project and they're allowing you staking rewards, that's inflation. That's to put tokens in your pocket. It's the same thing. Same thing if you're buying NFTs or other things like that. So hopefully it's coming across clear. Again, man, my head's a little cloudy, but
no, you're good. You're good. And I just wanted to add one more thing to that. And there was this YouTube video, and I really wish I could reference it right now, but I'm sure someone out there has seen it, and they can even, if you guys know, drop it in the public chat. And I'm really, if you got any history buffs, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they were talking about the Roman Empire. Okay, but I may be wrong. I'm not for sure. But they were talking about the history of money, right? The history of currency in general. And one thing that was extremely, like, you can compare pretty much what Titano and all these other projects are doing as far as inflating their token at the beginning to give, like what David is saying, is putting those tokens in people's hands, is the fact that they were, so tired, right? I'm pretty sure it was the Roman Empire. People constantly either having to work on the farm or do something to where they were exchanging like chickens for linen and just all this stuff, because they didn't have like any set way of exchanging goods, right? So they created this way of creating these, tokens, right? These coins, and saying, hey, use this as a form of currency where it's a reserve, where now this is always going to be the value of the way it is. But the problem was no one was still using it. No one was using it. They were just like, whatever, I'm still going to use my chickens because that's more valuable. So the thing they were doing was they were giving these tokens out. Then they mirrored it to where they were like, hey, okay, now you got to pay your taxes with these coins instead of chickens and goats and all this stuff. And now it motivated people to where, with this super high inflation of giving these tokens out and creating a use case around it, you guys see where we're going? When they did that, people were so much more happy that they didn't have to just work on the farm their whole life. They could actually create little shops and do other services that, instead of earning these other things, they could earn tokens, because now these Roman coins were the currency that was getting more popular, because they had to pay their taxes with it. They had to pay for goods and services with it. So it was inspiring people to create other ways of earning those tokens, instead of just relying on that really archaic way of extracting goods. So I really just wanted to tell people that, because I watched that. It was literally like 4 or 5 days ago, and I was like, bro, this is exactly what crypto is doing right now, where you have this super high curve of inflation at the beginning to disperse these tokens out. And then, of course, people were asking, is Titano ever going to be stopping the rebases? If you guys seen in the Certic audit, in the smart contract, it's like capped at 4 years, but I think they can reestablish if they want. But if we get all these tokens out at the beginning in the span of 4 years, and at the end of the 4-year mark, we have this gigantic ecosystem of Titano where you can do a bunch of different things with it. That's kind of like the same thing of the story I just told you guys of how, crypto, or not cryptocurrency, but how currency was first formed with the Roman Empire. And again, I don't know if it's the Roman Empire, but I'm pretty sure it was the Roman Empire. But yeah, I just really, really wanted to talk about that, because it was a really good video. And I really wish I could share that video with you guys, because I totally forgot who made it.
I absolutely, if I can, I absolutely love those two examples. if you have a chance, guys, go back and listen to what David just said, and do look up those historical moments as Austin's talking about, because it really rings true now as we embark on this new drive to a new era. And I just want to say something about inflation, and we're going to talk about education in a minute. It's so important to understand that what we have here is not inflation in the way that most people are describing it. So if I ask you guys a question, right, Austin, David, if I said to you, oh, there's an issue with the US dollar and inflation, can you tell me what's the issue? And I think, tell me the answer, Austin. What's the problem with the fact that the US dollar is inflating?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
There we
Can
go.
you,
Okay,
Austin?
so yeah, my
What's the
mic
problem?
sometimes. I think that so the main problem with like inflation in the dollar is the fact that I earn the same amount of dollars, right? If I'm at a 9 to 5
Right.
job and say
Right.
I'm just getting normal little 1-2% raises, my
Right.
buying power is dramatically being reduced because I go out to pay for gas or food or groceries or something like that, and the inflation curve is naturally making everything more expensive. So in
Right.
reality, I'm not making the same money every single year because
100%.
my buying power is lowering
Right.
if I'm not putting it
Exactly.
into high yield assets.
100%. So you have a salary, or maybe you have a pension, which is even worse. You're towards the end of
Yeah.
your life, and it's a fixed pension. You're getting a certain amount per year or a certain amount per week, and the government's printing all this money, but they don't put it in your hand. They just spend it, right? And so there's all these extra dollars around, and your dollar is worth less. Okay, so that is the real inflationary problem. That's the dilemma with inflation. That is not what we have at Titano. Now, that's going to hit you a little, right? At first, you're going to say, well, hang on. The issue with Titano is 102,000% APY. It's incredible hyperinflation, and that's a problem. But actually, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because it's inflating across everyone's wallet. So yes, there's inflation but it's inflating in everyone's wallet. So my wallet is inflating at 102,000%. So is yours. So what you actually should look at is the percentage share of Titano that you hold. So let's say you held 1% on day one, and you didn't sell a token. Yes, Titano is inflated dramatically, but today you still hold 1%. That hasn't changed. So you really have to get your head around this. You don't. Every time you sell, you reduce the amount of Titano that you hold, and so your holding is less. Your Titano who's holding is less. So it's not the same as inflation as you think about it with the US dollar, because you hold the same percentage of Titano that you always hold, that you've always held. Now, what that means is actually Titano is just like every other cryptocurrency. It's exactly the same. It behaves in the same way. When more money comes in, the value goes up. So let's say I hold 1% of Titano on day one. Today I hold 1%. I still hold 1% because I've not sold any. It inflated, but I still only hold 1%. I don't hold any more than 1%. I didn't buy any more, so I don't hold any more. But if more people invested more money and kept investing and no one sold any, then it would be worth a lot more. My share would be worth a lot more, just like any other token. And if people start selling it off, then my share goes down. The value of my total share, goes down. That's how it works. So actually, inflation is not the problem. But if you want to think about it as inflation being a problem, then every single deflationary utility that we produce adds immense value, even if it reduces it by a tiny bit. The goal is not to take away 102,000% APY. No, that's not the goal. That's not the goal at all. I mean, if you get to that point, then you should be making crazy money in this project because you're turning over an immense amount of revenue and burning a huge number of tokens. But if you buy, and as you say to Austin at the start of this Titan talk, you have to think about your investments properly. DCA, right? If you invested $50 a week or a month, let's say, every month since Titano started, yes, you would have bought some at 20 cents, but you would have also bought some at 0.002 cents, right? And overall, your average would be whatever it is, and you'd own a decent amount of Titano. and then you're looking at it from a different perspective. Then you're not saying, oh my god, I invested at high. It could be the same with any token, whether you invested in dog token, right? Whatever random token. If then people start selling, your dog tokens are worth less. But if you DCA, then you've got an average dog token price. So the question at the end of the day is, are the developers working? Is there a real project here? Are they continuing to add value? And that goes back to your point, David. Are they adding value? Are they creating something that didn't exist before? And the answer to that is 100% yes. These guys have worked with a really steady hand. They've continually added value. Where something didn't exist, there are lines and lines and lines of code, right? And that exists from hours and hours and hours of work, not from your average Joe, but from some very smart people. So you now have, if I had 1% of the supply at the start, I still have 1% now. And if I keep holding it, I'll have 1% in the future, where hopefully the developers who are experimenting, everyone's experimenting, if they've cracked it and they build a large enough community where everyone's spending and using Titano, and it draws and attracts the attention of people from outside of Titano to just come in and play some games, just come in and play some lottery. Well, all that adds incredible value, and the person that held the Titano is going to see the benefit. Now, this is, these are big assumptions that this is going to work out perfectly, but what can we say about the developers? They've worked consistently, they've produced consistently, and they continue to produce results and utility, and, as I said, lines and lines and lines of code. So that's what we have to get to understanding, and that's what we're going to do in the future with our educational platform, guys. We have to educate people,
Wow.
understand things differently. If you look at the website, one of the first lines on there is reimagining finance or reimagining DeFi, right? That's what it is. Why do you have the rebasing at all if it makes no difference? If it's no different well, like you said, Austin, it's about letting people think differently. I started with 10,000 Titano. I didn't sell any. Today I have 100,000 Titano. Well, I'm going to give 5,000 to my mum, 5,000 to my friend, 10,000 because I've got all these extra Titano. That's how you spread a token out, by letting people feel like they became part of something. They now understand the project because they're tuning into Titan Talks, they're seeing updates, and they're seeing constant development. And then they bring their friends in, and then they bring their family in, and those people bring in more people because it keeps multiplying. There are so many reasons that make this a fantastic going to marketing tool, but also it's a real tool to help people spread and get that token out there. As you said, David, it's all about getting it out there.
Right.
So that's it, guys.
Thank you, John. Wow. I know, John, I know you're not 100. I know you're not feeling it great, but man, very well said. And there's a lot of information there, but all of it really, really important. It is about understanding the project that you're in, understanding the space that you're in. And again, for me, this comes up particularly over these last couple of weeks because I've seen so much information around where people are giving out misinformation about, DeFi, about Titano, about rebasing tokens. And I hear it and I just go, they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't understand the space. So it's important for all of us to understand the space. And as you said, John, this is why the education component of what we're doing is so important. Videos that you're putting up. And I was thinking we need to do, Titano Academy video where we talk about these things, where we talk about, what is a cryptocurrency? Why is it a currency? Why aren't we a crypto stock business or the crypto securities business? Why is it a currency? Right? It's really, really relevant. Cryptocurrencies are an innovation on currencies, right? That's what this whole thing is about, right? It's a new way, a better way, or a better version of currency. If you think of currency as a product, right? There are major advantages to cryptocurrencies, and DeFi is taking advantage of those advantages and creating opportunities for people. That's what we're all doing here. If it wasn't for those advantages, we couldn't create these amazing projects, right? We couldn't participate in them. So it's just important for us, I think, again, to have some balance and understanding again, because, I've been, like I said, I've been getting a bunch of questions about it and people with concerns and, hey, I'm hearing, Titano's a scam. And I go, well, where are you hearing that? Who's telling you that? And what's that person's knowledge or understanding about this space? Right. And again, don't believe me, understand the space you're in. Go into and understand DeFi and crypto and what's going on, and why is cryptocurrency so exciting? What is it replacing? Why are they saying cryptocurrency is going to replace all fiat currencies? Right? There are all sorts of advantages. Cryptocurrency can have, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's at least 8 decimal points. Right? A dollar, you've got 2 decimal points. Having 8 decimal points allows you to do micro payments. I can pay people for things that I never could pay them before. Browsing the internet. I can give you a micro penny, a thousandth of a penny.
Something
sorry,
I always
John?
think about. Sorry, David. Something I always think about when I compare fiat currency to cryptocurrency. In every major city in the world, right? Whether it's Tokyo, Paris, wherever, New York, London, etc. Wherever you are in the world, there is a banking district. And
right.
that means every single, bank, every single investment bank. Can you imagine the amount of money that is spent on real estate for banking, traditional banking?
Right.
This is why your average bank can't pay you any kind of interest. It's because they're paying for billions of dollars worth of real estate. They have to keep the upkeep of that, the staffing of that, the maintenance of that. So there's just no way that traditional banking can compete with DeFi. There's no way that traditional currency can compete, just because you have so much in the way of overheads. They should all be gone. As we found out during the pandemic, people work from home now. People work remotely, and that's the way that they're going to do their finance as well. It's so important. The educational aspect, as you say, David, is so important. Austin, you have some coming up.
I'm sorry.
We got a standoff here.
I'm sorry, man. Please go ahead, John. Please.
No, it's just talking about the educational stuff, and I was just realizing.
Yeah.
Austin,
well, the one thing I just wanted to say and add to that, in terms of the the innovation. I mean, as someone who travels so much and never thought about it, you go to another country and what do? You stop at the money changing place and you switch and you lose money and you lose money and you lose money. And, what are you paying for, right? I mean, what's the actual, you're paying for the fact that these countries haven't come together and figured out how to get their currency to you in an effective and efficient manner, right? It's nothing that you've done. You're losing money every time you do it. Or if you're in another country and let's say you've got you got a bank in America and then you go to London and you use the ATM. John, you were talking about all the real estate that the banks have. What about that infrastructure that they've built to allow you to, to swipe your card in London and connect with those banks and all? There's an entire infrastructure behind that. That's billions and tens and hundreds of billions of dollars that's been built. And we're all paying for that, as opposed to just taking your cryptocurrency. If you have Titano and you're in Italy or you're in Africa, it's the same thing. It's a massive innovation. And that's what this whole industry is built on. And yeah, it threatens what is here currently and it antiquates it, just like the car antiquated, the horse and buggy. So I like these topics. I like talking about this because we've got to remind ourselves what's going on. And we've got to be always sort of having that conversation in the back of our minds as we look at all of this. And as you said earlier, Austin, these are all innovations. These are all experiments. And you've got a bunch of brilliant people in this space that are consistently trying things, and it's getting better and better and better. And like I've been saying, the next Elon Musk is in crypto. The next Steve Jobs is in crypto, right? Those people are here because this is where the innovation is happening. So anyway, yeah. I like going down this road, and I know we've been down it a while, but I just want us again to just be mindful of these things and educate ourselves.
No, absolutely. And speaking of education, yeah, what John was talking about was the fact that, this week we're going to have, if you guys notice on the Titan YouTube channel, I've been trying to do at least 2 Titano Academies a week, because if I unload them every single day, because we're still fighting against the YouTube algorithm, it will literally just, YouTube hates it when you do daily uploads every single day. It's just bad for the YouTube algorithm. So I've been dropping them at least twice a week. And if you guys notice, I'm in a different studio, right? So the videos that you are seeing right now currently have been filmed like 3 months ago. So I'm trying to offload the latest ones as much as possible. And if you guys will see, I think next week you'll start to see more updated videos with, me in this studio, like specifically about addressing like liquidity. I like people are dropping a lot of really good suggestions, like what David just said, like do a Titano Academy video on literally just what is cryptocurrency in general compared to like stocks, real estate, and that type of stuff. What is a liquidity pool in general, like those types of things, how to use the switch. You guys are dropping a lot of really good questions and comments as far as like suggestions for future videos. So please don't stop that. You're not annoying me. DM me, tag me in the Discord, Telegram. I am writing it all down because that really does help me feed as much videos as possible so I can just focus on the production of it instead of sitting here brainstorming things. So you guys really do feed the Titano Academy because all it is for literally me to answer frequently asked questions in a short, digestible 2 to 3 minute video instead of this long, super long video or just, a frequently asked questions page that you just don't really want to read because I hate reading. No one really likes reading anyway. So absolutely. I just wanted to touch on that
I
real
like
quick.
reading.
You like reading? Man, I like audiobooks. I can't read. I have
I like
I don't
audiobooks
know what
too.
it is. And here's my pet peeve with when people are like, you just haven't found the right thing to read yet. Man, I have tried to read so many different types of books that are about money, obviously the cliche self-help books that aren't even about that type of stuff. Like I've tried so many different genres of books. I'll start reading and I'll just lose train of thought. But audiobooks,
Can I,
absolutely, all day.
Austin, it's generally said that people tend to break down into three different categories, right? In terms of what they respond to. Some people respond to pretty pictures. Some people respond to something that they hear. And then there are people, it's called kinesthetic, right? So that tends to be writing. And
Yeah.
so, you have to decide and see. Now, typically not anyone's like 100% anything. So you might be mostly visual or mostly auditory or mostly kinesthetic. So yeah, that makes sense. And the key is to find the thing that you really respond to and then lean toward that. I like a little bit of all of them. I like beautiful pictures. I like, giving presentations. As you can tell, I talk a lot, but also I love reading. But that comes from when I was a child, man. I'm a voracious reader. So yeah, man, but it's good to know what you are. And it's great. This is why, we talked about Titano Academy, right? We talked about creating a text version of it. We talked about creating the actual videos, right? And then, and they can look at your cute face and there's the pretty pictures. There you go.
So Paula said, Austin, get yourself a great romance novel. I mean, see, when I said I tried a bunch of different genres, I said I meant I will try different genres that I know I may have interest in. I have no interest in romance novels. I'm gonna tell you that right now, Paula. Even if it was an audiobook.
Oh,
So
man.
one final question I wanted to ask David and John before, because we're getting a little. This may be the longest Titan talk we've ever had yet, and it's okay,
Yeah.
because I really
Yeah.
want to make this as info dense as possible. And hey, there is a few amazing shout out to Glitterstorm and Johnny and anybody else that breaks down these topic points within these Titan
Right.
talks. I would love to ask anybody that would love to do this. Okay, when you break down these points, if you want to go above and beyond, because like I say, we talk about asking when all the time, but what if you can just add value to this project in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just being nice, that's value, right? So if anybody, I challenge anybody, if you would like to break down these topic points and also the timestamps when we talk about them, that would be some really good value that we could copy and paste there so people could really find the different topics we talk about. So I would love for anybody to do that. But one question I would love to ask David and John real quick. This was from one of the mods that we kind of got a lot of questions about here that they kind of seen. And we have, are the deflationary statistics being compiled? What is the current average rate of how much of the APY we are counteracting through the utilities? Because one thing we show in the Titan chest is, of course, the tokens and circulating supply, how it's inflating versus what we're taking out. But do we have kind of like a statistic of how we are seeing these being taken place?
Great question. Great question. And let me answer with this. So, who are in Discord, Brilliant Titan, RES. He might even be in here now. And he put together a bunch of statistics, and I got 10 DMs going, "Hey man, did you see this?" And I hadn't. And then I finally did see it, and I reached out to him. And for the last 2 weeks, he and I have talked about him compiling this type of data that answers stuff. For the people that have seen what he does, he went in and he showed the effects of the use cases on inflation, overall inflation in Titano. It is brilliant. So what's happened since then is he has been working with Wayne, and the two of them are coming up with statistics that will then be put into Titan Chest. So in the next short while, you will be able to go, and that'll be a part of Titan Chest where you can see it updating automatically this data. We'll also, Austin, include that in the weekly summary. So there'll be very simplified charts, which he's creating. I've seen some of them already. They're beautiful. They're self-explanatory, where you'll be able to have a visual representation of how inflation is being
counteracted.
Oh,
Yeah,
I couldn't find that word. Thank you, man.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Great question.
Do we have a statistic right now, either David or John, about like, so right now, because obviously we're inflating every single day at 1.9%. I think that's correct, right? So do we have like a daily deflation rate that we could just like kind of, maybe visualize right now, or is that going to be released?
It changes. It changes every day. This is why this is going to be added to Titan Chest. So it'll be there. I mean, he could give you one today, and I've had him create daily ones for me, like just on the spot to see, because I needed to see what it would look like. But the key is to have them consistently, rather than just taking a snapshot. So the idea is, again, in Titan Chest, to see this ongoing, and then there'll be this this visual in our weekly summaries that has that number in it. So that'll be great data for all of us.
Awesome. Yeah, and to add to that, I think one of the Titans actually posted on the 28th of July. He posted that if you bought, people were talking about how BNB was going up, and then Titano wasn't going up quite as fast, and people always get stressed about that. And he actually did the calculations, and he said if you bought on the 21st of June, if you bought one BNB and also $220 worth of Titano, actually over the course of the 37 days to today's date, you would be up with Titano. You'd be up 66%, rather than with BNB, you'd only be up 22%. So Titano is actually outperforming these other assets when you consider the rebases, which goes back to what I was saying earlier about, inflation is not a problem with Titano. It's actually the way you think about it. You have to reframe it. As the guys say, you have to reimagine it. The inflation is not the problem, because whatever you're holding also inflates at the same rate.
John, do you know who put that together? That was Pickles.
I think that was Pickles, our genius Pickles.
That was Pickles. That was. He's smart Pickles, as a whip, man. Shout out 100%. That was
look at that. Premium Hub even shouted him out. The calculations were done by Pickles. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Pickles.
What is that?
Premium Hub has special relationships.
That's funny. All right. Well, I mean, I think we just, for everybody that's just now tuning in, because we try to make this as time efficient as possible. So we try not to readdress. So if you asked a question in the chat and we didn't address it, we probably already did. So in this, if you guys are just coming in, we talked about the future utility that's literally right around the corner, like what the whole goal with it is. We talked about John talked about how we're going to be rebranding Swych in the literally this week coming. That is going to be the next main focus, because we always usually have the Titan focus. Well, that's what's going to be going on this week, along with right after the Titan, the Titano Swych rebranding. We're going to be coming out with the different, with the rebranding includes the different liquidity pairs, where we have actual BUSD now that's going to be paired with Titano instead of just BNB, along with John possibly said USDT as well. Correct, John?
Correct. Yes.
Correct. So, and then we also talked about just kind of some cryptocurrency history in general. And David was really talking about how you really have to think about this as a cryptocurrency currency, right? This is a currency, not a stock. This isn't something like that. So you really have to kind of get in the head of what this is and kind of just talking about inflation in general with the market cap, with the circulating supply increase, talked about deflation, what the future utilities looks like with that. Is there anything I'm missing that we can just kind of summarize it? Because we talked about a ton.
Yeah.
The rebrand of Swych, the fact we've actually hired 6 devs, to work with our devs on that. The fact that will be the first step, and then we're going to bring in the second utility after that. Sorry, the next utility after that. And also Nicolas Cage is freaking awesome, and that guy.
Nicolas Cage is, I can't say enough about him. He's an amazing human being. Amazing.
He's not an ordinary pickle. This is a serious deal.
No.
Oh yeah, Premium said, Pickles, put your question again, please. I love that one. Yeah, I seen something. There was a question he asked. So yeah, Pickles, drop your question again, because the bad thing about my public chat, and this is even on YouTube, it doesn't. I was sitting here scrolling up because I had some questions noted, and I was scrolling up, and it like you can only go up so far before it just like you can't see it anymore. So if you did drop a question that is really good, I'll give you guys a couple minutes there just to put them back in the chat. But one more thing I wanted to say is with the summary, just expect from now in the next 2 weeks, because we did talk about this week, and then directly after it's going to be this. So in this week, like John just said, with the Swych rebranding, liquidity pair, and then right after the Swych rebranding is going to be the new use case and the new utility. John also talked about how there's just going to be a complete overhaul of the new UI and stuff like that. And then I feel like I'm missing one more thing as far as like what's going to be going on like right after all those things. The burning is going to be happening this week as well with because people were asking with the liquidity with liquid capital. Do what? David had an aha moment.
Oh no! Please go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. Someone was asking about
my brain's catching up
with liquid capital and stuff like that. But with liquid capital, with the pre-sale, with all the money people not donated but invested to liquid capital's pre-sale through the Titano link, that is going to be, I think they said part of that is going to be attributed to the burn. So we're going to have a really big burn this week that you're going to see as well. So that is everything to expect in the next 2 weeks coming forward with Titano.
Excellent. So we're waiting for Pickles. He's
here we go.
A typically amazing. Here we go. Questions about the rebrand. It's a new name, new URL, new UI.
Is Austin going to do a burpee now?
Okay. John?
It's not a new name. There will be a new UI, yes. So they're redeveloping that whole DApp, so it's all going to be integrated. The same name, a new design. Those things will come with a new DApp, yes. What was the other bit? A new URL. I think possibly yes. But the first thing is to get that can always be added later. But the first thing is definitely to have the new design and new UI. Those are the main things.
Awesome. All right. Well, I hope we were able to answer a ton of questions in this, and I know it's an hour and 19 minutes, but man, there's just so like much information within this podcast. It's hard to make it like less than an hour. But please, one thing I challenge everybody with every single episode is, if you see any questions in the Discord, we have 148 people. That is a lot of people. Imagine 148 people in the same room together, right? Like, we always get kind of desensitized to views and numbers and stuff like that, especially with YouTube, where, millions of views, blah, blah, blah. But we have 148 live human beings watching right now. So in the Discords, in the Telegrams, if you see any question, if you think relates to this podcast or another podcast that you listen to, don't address it as FUD. Don't be, toxic and crazy. Literally just drop the link of whatever podcast relates to their question. Say, hey, watch this podcast and get a better understanding. And that is how you can add value to this project. We always talk about marketing, right? I think one of the best forms of organic marketing is just being positive and showing people and what we're doing as far as the educational content goes, with the Titan Talks goes, and just, share with them what what we're doing, right? Because that's the whole point of these Titan talks. And at the end of the day, I say it all the time, DeFi is still a gamble. DeFi is still a casino, and this is risk capital. Do not invest into DeFi, especially. We're not just talking about Titano. Talking about DeFi in general. Do not invest in DeFi and expect the same fundamentals as you would the stock market, as you would real estate, e-commerce, any business you want to do. This is still risk capital at the end of the day.
Right. Austin, I just want to take a second also, man, and say thank you, because a lot of what you do doesn't get seen, and you are vital to Titano, and I say this, and I know sometimes, we're joking around about it, but you are one of those people that goes above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that things that need to be done get done, and it's appreciated. I know sometimes it is a job that isn't thanked enough. And, in this crazy space that we're in where, anyone can say anything about anything, sometimes this stuff gets lost. So I just want to tell you, thank you as always, man. You're very much appreciated. To all of you Titans, it is great. I got a chance to do an AMA and an unannounced AMA, and I thought it was going to be about 15 minutes and ended up being 2.5 hours. And I just loved
I heard
it.
about that. I didn't get to get in there,
man.
but I heard people were talking about the infamous 2-hour AMA.
Oh man. And it wasn't recorded. I just thought I was going in to answer 1 or 2 questions, but it turned into what it always turns into. And I always love it. But you guys are appreciated, and your comments, your questions, your criticisms, your feedback, your assistance, it's amazing. And again, as I talked about, these amazing Titans and the things that they do and to help what's going on here with Titano, I am just overwhelmed by the outreach and by the support that we're being given. Last week, when I heard you two guys, the two Austins, it was just, man, I mean, 2 young guys who are kicking some butt, and and that's part of what this project is about too. Bringing people together and and creating something new and creating relationships. So let's enjoy that part of it too. It's an important part, fellowship and camaraderie and all of those things, and positivity and support for each other. So I just want to encourage us all, as we go through the ups and downs, to just take advantage of that as well at Titano, because it's really important. Yeah, us all making a lot of money, all that stuff is fantastic and extraordinarily important, but build some relationships here too. And if you've got a business, talk with people about your business, create some connections, do all of those things. It's really, really important. And we're all here for that. Thank you, man.
I absolutely love that, guys. And I just want to say as well, really appreciate this community. And it comes from, it really comes from, I think, what the team and the devs have tried to build. I spoke to David right at the start about Titano, and we got into a conversation with the devs, and the devs said, basically, we just don't want to let anyone down, right? And that has always stuck with me. And I think that runs through the team. We've got such an incredible team of moderators and content creators, and everyone here, yourself as well, Austin. No one wants to let anyone down, and it goes. That's the same thing. You get the same feeling through the community. You've got such incredible community members who are just there day in, day out, talking, communicating, getting to know each other. And I'll tell you something. It's what, just to add to what you said at the end there, David. The world is small. It's such a gigantic place with so much beauty and variation, but our worlds are small when you can connect like this, and suddenly you have access to just a wealth of knowledge and diversity. And why not step into that Discord room and share some of your ideas? And that's what it's there for. Ultimately, we're all connected via this token that they're building, and we're all connected by this ecosystem. And just rest assured, the devs are working their butts off. The team is working all the time. There's someone there 24/7. Where do you get that in the real world, right? And everyone's working. They don't want to let you down. We don't want to let you down, guys. So, this is, I think, I'm really happy with this episode. I know it's longer than the others, I apologize if you guys have been waiting to go to the loo or something. But you know, I'm really, really happy to have this episode and to have everyone just talking freely, and this is what
Right.
the community is about. Look at the comments. It's incredible. You
Right.
know. Hi guys, thank you so
Right.
much for being. You know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I
Thank you.
totally agree,
Can
man.
I
This
add
was
one?
a really good podcast. Yeah, what's up, David?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Austin. I know,
No, you're
but I
good. You're
just need
good.
to say one thing. And it's like you're always saying, I want to, you add your little things. And I've been saying this also. Guys, please give yourself a break. Like I've been sick over the last couple of days and I've watched so many bad Netflix movies, but I really needed it, you know? And so give yourself a break away from this stuff, right? It can be overwhelming. Be concerned about your mental health. If you find yourself getting on edge about anything or being out of your character, take a break from this stuff, right? Give yourself some room because your mental health and your mental state of mind is what's most important. So, you know, again, John talked about it, Austin talked about it, I talk about this whole thing about camaraderie, right? And coming together as a community. This is here and this is also about support. But if you find you need to step away, step away. Take some time.
Dude,
It'll be here when
totally.
you get back. It'll be
Yeah,
here when
man.
you get back.
I see, and I've even experienced this myself, especially obviously doing content around like, and I don't do content just around crypto, but it's so easy to be lost in the discords, be lost in crypto, be lost in just staring at
Oh,
charts. And that's where I tell people all the time, I'm not just saying this as like a blanket insurance policy. I'm really being real. When you invest money that you can't afford to lose, you will be emotionally attached to it. You know,
mm,
I'm not just throwing money at everything to, you know, just because I hate money, but I take bets and gambles on different projects and different teams behind those projects, but it's still money that I can't afford to play around with. And I implore every single one of you to really think, you know, did I put money into something that I am emotionally attached to? Okay, because you should never do that. And if you do, you know, put money in and use crypto the way it should be, and that's just risk capital right now. Yeah, it kind of sucks to see stuff go down, but you still will not be emotionally attached to where you're freaking out on where you're going to come up with money in the next month or so. So, and it can be
mm,
really easy to just, even if you do everything right, still be dive deep into the discords, dive deep into the toxic tribalism, stuff like that. And we don't want that. That's not what
right.
Titano is about. That's not what this community that we're building is about. And again, that's why I started this podcast off with, you know, think about something you guys are grateful for and just you know,
Mm,
enjoy life. That's what I did yesterday. I literally just, I said, you know what, I'm turning off YouTube. I'm closing down the laptop. I'm not editing a video. I'm not working, because usually I work on Saturdays. Like, nope, not doing it. And I just went out and had some fun, and you know, it definitely was well needed. So and thank you all for
mm,
understanding. I got a lot of great DMs and a lot of replies of just, you know, hey, you know, I really expected some people to be kind of pissed off that the podcast wasn't yesterday, but I really do appreciate you guys understanding. And that right there is a really good form and testament of the community that we're building, and the understanding and just the being real with people. Right. So thank you all
mm,
so much once again for coming on. We still have 134 people listening. If you did get value from this, please drop it a like. If you got a question answered, drop it a like. If you think this should be pushed out to as many people as possible, that like button is so crucial to the algorithm. And then even if you want to go one step further, share this to anybody that you think has comments, concerns, questions that you think could be answered. And, you know, until next time, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you this Saturday. We'll see you next Saturday for another episode of Titan Talk, episode 12.
mm.
Thank you guys. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.